All right, boys, episode 3 of the Bottom 6 podcast. We're all back. Tyler, Trevor, Alex, we're your hosts. Let's go. Let's get into it. I know Trevor has a massive amount of notes he's made. He's been busy this week and a busy little bee. And you know what? What is your first most notable subject for us today, Trevor?
Now hold the fucking phone right quick before Trevor gets into this. I just want to say, Alex, you're a fucking coward for attacking the Oilers when I was on vacation. All right, fucking coward move right there, bud.
It was a good
me
rant,
to defend my boys.
It was a good rant. Well, this is your opportunity now. You know, like as we're going through,
I'm gonna fucking get you back. That's for sure.
Yeah, you can chirp the Leafs as much as you want. I mean, you can try to defend some of the moves that Holland has made. I'm going to disagree, obviously, Leafs, considering my rant, but
the Leafs have been fucking crickets this offseason with only losing Zach Hyman and McCann.
Yeah, McCann. Yeah, I know. Leafs legend Jared McCann.
What a fucking tenure. Still more effective in the playoffs than Marner and Matthews.
I know he did more. He did more for us than they did. That's for sure.
Yeah, he didn't eat up $11 million in salary cap like they do.
No, what is he making? Yeah, a little under 3.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. I don't.
Should have kept him and exposed Marner.
God, no, there's no way you're doing that. Just handing Marner away for free like that. Fuck that. Like even with his like the thing is, yeah, Marner has a high cap hit, but teams would still be willing to take it on. I mean, teams are willing to take on Eichel's $10 million. It looks like if they're trying to trade for him. I mean, Seth Jones, we just saw that Chicago trade happen, and then just they're signing him to a nice juicy max deal, 9.5 per. So fuck. There's some juicy contracts going around. I don't know why Gems are doing it because we have this flat cap going on. I thought signings and deals would be a little bit more conservative, but so far everyone's just been balling out.
Yeah. All right, Trevor, let's get into it. What do you got first?
Well, so the NHL draft has just recently happened, and to get us all started, why don't we just go over the top picks, because that's what most people are going to be looking to hear about. So, out of the top 5, so you got Owen Power, went first overall, to be expected, to Buffalo. Then number 2, we had Matty Beniers going to Seattle again, pretty much expected for the last couple months or so. And I think that goes with Mason McTavish. I was like, some might not have seen it, but with the way he performed at the World of Under 18s, he certainly climbed up some of those draft boards.
Who did end up picking third?
Anaheim.
Okay, so obviously they were impressed with how he played
for the next 10 years in the top 5 because they're a dumpster fire.
Well, that's actually one thing I will say about Anaheim in general that I'm surprised about is because they still had like some pretty good, I guess, journeymen on the team. And I mean, now you got a wily vet of Getzlaf and stuff. And they had a lot of young guys coming up in the pipeline. And even, John Gibson's a fantastic goaltender.
Getzlaf's going to free agency. He's going to test the market. I'm calling it now.
Oh, he definitely is. I mean, unless...
Well, at this point, there's less than 24 hours before it all starts, so...
I also say... Oh, sorry, Trevor. Go ahead.
It's less than 24 hours, so if he doesn't sign within that time, yeah, he's going for agency.
Oh, yeah. But I will say this thing. They got Mason McTavish, which is, I think he's going to be a pretty good top 6 forward, If not, he'll be a good grinder on the third line. But they also got Zegras, whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah.
He's going to be a fucking stud. And then they got Drysdale, who's going to be a top 2 defenseman. That kid's going to be a fucking stud, too. So they got some pretty solid players in the pipeline, but right now they're going to be struggling, I think, for the next couple of years here.
Well, I don't know. That's the thing. I thought they had a good mix of different players because you have, like, Cam Fowler and, like, I was mentioning John Gibson. He's a great goaltender, but I guess those guys aren't really putting it together, so they're kind of moving on, I guess, from some of their older guys and trying to, I guess, do a full-on rebuild. And
they're trying to get rid of Henry. He's on the trade block, but I don't know if anybody's going to touch that for $5 million. Like,
no,
he looked good with Canada, but also how many of those teams over there had their top guys playing? So you might have looked good playing against a bunch of KHL guys, but how's he going to look playing against Edmonton, Seattle, Vegas, fucking
He
Tampa
seems like an
Bay.
expensive third line player.
Like if
Like-
Anaheim's willing to eat some salary, I could see them moving that. But at that point, like, what's the point of eating salary when you can just keep him?
Yeah, just
'Cause
let
you're
him
only
play
gonna
for your team.
You're only going to free up $2.5 million. And what can you really get with that? Probably the same kind of quality player you're going to have with him anyways.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, they committed to that. It's like at this point, you know, I guess more so just learn from it. Don't fucking blow 5-6 mil on guys that maybe had a really up year heading into free agency when their career average has shown that they're more of like a third line centerman or something like that
Nah,
instead of a top six.
I chirped that and watch Ken Holland will trade Ethan Bear for him tomorrow. That's it.
Well, that's fine.
If Ethan Bear goes, I'm a Kraken fan and I'll burn all these jerseys behind me. I'll
Not
be a
even
Kraken
McDavid. What
fan,
if he's
I'm done.
like, you know what, I'm gonna trade McDavid tomorrow? You would just still be
Buddy.
like, all right, I like you.
Yeah, but if we traded McDavid, we'd get fucking 6 players. We'd have a whole top 6 fucking new top 6 of players just for trading for McDavid.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have McDavid anymore. The god
I'd
god of
cry.
hockey.
I'd cry. That's it for me. Hockey'd be dead to me if he gets traded.
Exactly.
Well,
I mean,
rounding
like,
up-
yeah, you try to take solace in like, okay, we got a whack ton of stuff. Maybe I like a couple first round picks, all that, and you know whatever else they gave you. But you know, you'd be like, fuck. But fucking McDavid though, man.
I'd have to
Fucking
watch golf at that point.
Yeah. And well,
Deal
that's if it was. I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna become a Kraken fan too. Fuck it.
Yeah, might as well. Yo, but fucking Michigan just became a hockey town now. 4 guys gone in the top 5. That's fucking unheard of. That's
Yeah, they,
actually
like, were-
insane.
Was their team like just filthy this year or something?
Well,
Apparently,
They had Power, they had Beniers, and then Johnson going at 5. The only other guy that went in the top 5 outside of them was McTavish, spoken of before, and
Yeah.
good old Luke Hughes going to New Jersey, joining his brother.
Yeah, there was a
Yeah.
lot of like brother pickups this year, like teams either making trades to try to have both brothers on the same team or just drafting like a younger brother that came up in the draft. I was like, holy fuck, like there's
did you guys see the video when he got drafted by New Jersey?
I believe.
was that where like the family freaked out and the one girl's just standing there the entire time like waiting to do the hug and then nobody
Like how
hugs her?
stoked his brother was going to be to play with him. Yo, he was more excited than Luke was, for fuck's sakes. He was so pumped for his brother to come to New Jersey. I was so happy to see that. It was pretty sick.
Well, it's like it makes sense, right? Because I mean, he's I guess one of their core players they're going to start building around. So it's like maybe it'll be like a Sedin connection where they just put them on the same line and they'll just be filthy, like just know
Luke's
where each
a-
other is going to be
Luke's a
instead of
D-man.
dirty plays.
Yeah.
Luke's a big tough D man.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So that's an interesting dynamic then.
Yeah.
Yo, the thing I'm most excited for out of the brothers was the Makar brothers. I bet you Kale was probably like, bro, I'll only take $9 million if you draft my little brother. Sakic's like,
Take them with their 7th round pick. Yeah.
Sakic's like, $9 million, you say, and I gotta draft your brother. Does it matter what round? He's probably like, nah, just draft him. That's fine. And he's like, all right, 7th it is. All right, man, I'll sign. Give me a pen.
Well, I'm guessing he must be good if they took him in the second round. Like, but I'm surprised.
Seventh.
Teams. He was drafted in the 7th. I thought it was the
Yeah.
second.
7th
No,
round,
7th.
220th overall. He was almost Mr. Irrelevant.
He was almost
but
Mr.
no.
Irrelevant.
Mr. Irrelevant was 224, so he's like 4 picks away from the last pick.
Yeah. But he
They also was like that Martin Brodeur when he drafted his son. And it was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, let me draft my son just to say the Devils drafted him.
But Kale's probably
Yeah.
sitting there like, Joey, you got 1 pick left. What the fuck you doing? I'll not report. You better fucking take my brother. Joey's sitting there sweating like, oh my God, I better draft him here.
I mean, you know, maybe they could turn him into something. Maybe they'll let him practice with his brother and it'll help him develop and he'll end up becoming a stud. Who knows?
You know, how many studs have been drafted in the 7th round? How many studs have been undrafted? Like, to me, it's cool to get drafted early on, but just because you got drafted late doesn't mean you can't have a fucking very long, successful NHL career.
Even
Guys
getting drafted
blossom later.
early doesn't guarantee success.
Man,
right?
how many guys fucking Nail Yakupov? Oilers legend Nail Yakupov went first overall, was useless for everyone that he played for. I mean, he won a KHL championship, so good for him. I'm happy for him, but you better never step foot in Edmonton again. Let me tell you that much right now.
His first year, wasn't he kind of okay in his first year, at least for Edmonton, but then he just fucking fell off
It was
after
yeah,
that.
it was a small sample size because it was the lockout year where they started halfway through the season, so it was only like a small sample size, and then he just couldn't get his footing. And I think he went to what? Who else did he play for? I know he played for the Avalanche.
Played for the Avalanche, played for the Blues, and then
Yeah,
I believe he went to Russia afterwards.
I was gonna say the Avalanche is the only team I remember him going to after. So the Blues must have been so short-lived. It was just a fucking glimpse.
It's
I
probably
think it was like a year or two.
It's probably a McCann experience. Got off the plane. All right, you're going to Colorado.
Get
back
the
on
fuck
that
out of
plane.
here.
Well, Cale Makar's brother wasn't the only one out, because then you had Colton Dock, Kirby Dock's brother, getting drafted in the second round to
He was
Chicago.
the second
That was the
round
other one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm mixing them up here.
Now they're both
No,
forwards,
you-
are they not?
What was it? Sorry.
They're both forwards, both Docks.
Yes.
Now imagine that line. You got Doc, passes it to fucking Strome or the Bierencat, and then back to Doc over to the other Doc. Like, it sounds like a fucking solid line to me. I've never seen the younger Doc play, but I know Kirby Doc's going to be an absolute fucking monster in the NHL. It's unfortunate what happened to him last year, because I honestly think if Doc played last year in the World Juniors, Canada probably would have won. But losing your captain before the tournament was a huge loss. They still played fucking phenomenal. I mean, if the Rangers wouldn't have fucking been pricks and would have let Lafreniere play, they definitely would have walked all over the U.S. So let's just put an asterisk beside the fucking last World Juniors, all right? Because Canada should have won, and the Americans know it.
I mean, the thing that's surprising to me too is Lafreniere didn't even have a great year, so it's like, why not let him go to the World Juniors? Like, he's not fucking doing anything for your team.
I don't understand that move. Like, I bet Doc getting hurt probably had a big play in it, but at the same time, like, I think it would have been better for his development than to have put him on your third and fourth line like they had him playing all season, and then he fucking, he sputtered for a bit. He kind of found his game at the end of the year, and then fans were eating him up like, oh, this kid's a fucking bust. Like, bro, he's 18 years old. Shut the fuck up.
He's 18. He's on like your third line. That's like, if you want good production out of him, you gotta have him like at least top six.
Play him with Zibanejad or fucking Panarin. I bet he put up numbers with those guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing too is like, it's not every year like the first overall pick is able to come to the NHL and just be a stud immediately. Like, there is
Not
times
everyone's
where it
Connor
takes a couple
McDavid.
years. Yeah, exactly. You shouldn't expect them to like walk in and just get a point per game kind of thing. Like, if you get like, maybe half a point per game, I think that's a pretty good success of like, oh, this fucking 18-year-old came into the NHL and got 40 points. Like, fucking right, let's go. If it's like, and if it's 20 goals as well, then you can think, okay, let them develop a little more, and that might become 40 goals a season and like 40 assists.
They'll
I
all
guess you
eat
just help to
their
build
own
off of
words
it.
when he's fucking lining up to McDavid next year at the Olympics.
Lafreniere is going to line up against McDavid.
Oh yeah, no, with McDavid.
Oh, with McDavid.
It's gonna be Crosby, McDavid, and Lafreniere. They're gonna put McDavid on the wing, and they're just gonna light it the fuck up. Now, what do you have? He had 21 points in 56 games, 12 goals, 9 assists. I mean, it's not great numbers, but even for an 18-year-old to step in and put in up those kind of numbers is still pretty respectable.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
just to say that
he wasn't no Stutzla, because that kid was a fucking stud.
He did pretty well.
He did do good. If anything, I was quite impressed with him this year. I thought he was one of the better rookies of the year.
Yeah,
even though I guess Kaprizov or
he would have
Kaprizov, yeah,
he would have had more. He would have had more fucking votes, I think, for the rookie of the year if it wasn't for 45-year-old Kaprizov playing in the league. So
yeah, but it's like him and Lafreniere were kind of the same situation. It's like Stutzla played like second line for maybe like a 10-game stretch, maybe, but it's like for majority of the year, same thing, was kind of third line, then kind of mix them into the power play here or there.
Which made no fucking sense. You know you guys aren't going to make the playoffs. Give the kid a shot in the top 6. What's the point of playing him on the third? You're just wasting development. Give him those fucking 16, 17, 18 minutes a game. Let him play with your top guys. Let him get his feet wet. Like, I'm sure he would have loved to play with Chucky all year. Those two seem like
play
they
the
have
same
a
position.
Oh, do they? Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
So it's like, I bet you're putting him second line with maybe, so if they went with White and Norris, so either Norris or White, depending, and then probably a Dadonov or Brown. That's the thing. It's like Ottawa's lines were like constantly changing. Like every 10 game stretch, you probably see new lines constructed, almost top to bottom.
Which at that point, that's the coach just trying to show, I'm trying here. Don't fucking fire me, please.
You know, one guy that surprised me on the Sens this year, Josh Norris.
Well,
I was like, who is this guy? Every time they played the Leafs, he would score like a nice goal, like just dangle a D, rip a snipe on net, and I'm like, what the fuck? Who is this random asshole? It's coming out of nowhere here.
So we got him out of the Carlson deal. The year before, he played in the AHL the entire year, where he put up great numbers. So it's like, all right, well, let's give you first. It's like, I don't know if they started him on first line. It was either he was in the top 6 for certain, but yeah, it's like you just produced, and it's like, all right, well, might as well just leave you there.
That's a great pickup then in that Carlson trade, because like, wow, I was just like, where'd this kid come from? He's like already looking like a proven NHLer. So if that's his first year, holy shit.
And San Jose is like, fuck. How do we get rid of Carlson here? Like,
you know what? It's starting to look more and more like the Senators won that trade. I mean, everyone made fun of them at the time, and it was good to it was funny watching them fall apart. But they've recovered quite well, and if anything, yeah, they're starting to make San Jose look foolish, because San Jose looks like they're the team that needs to rebuild bad, and like was already on the up and up.
And they got no money.
Yeah, there's no fucking money. It's just buried in like
$20 million and
35 years old.
Well,
now they're trying to buy out Martin Jones, I think, too.
Yeah, they just did that. Speaking of the Suns, let's get into their picks. Now,
yeah, Trevor's so excited. Look at him.
I'm so excited, but at the same time, as like everyone that's around the Suns, I'd say, as like you're looking at these picks and you're looking at where they're ranked. It's like, well, what are we doing here? It's like with their 10th overall pick, Tyler Boucher. He's a right winger, which I have no problem with taking a right winger, but looking at where he was in the rankings, considering his injury history over the year, where he had a battle with COVID-19, and then it might have ended his year. I don't know if it did, but he had knee surgery as well. It was like, you're taking a risk for a guy which was projected early second round, mid second round. It's like, why not just, like, they had 2 second round picks. Why not use it then and then take best player available?
Right. Exactly. Because like, if you lose him, he's a high second round pick, like you said. And if you don't get him, you're going to get just as good a player, if not better, with that pick. So I agree with you. Why take the shot at a guy that's got knee surgery? You never know. A young kid having knee surgery, he might not be able to battle back from that kind of a thing. And you might have just wasted a number 10 pick on him. But at the same time, it's fucking way too early to tell. So, like you said, can't really complain about the pick. But
the only thing I can speculate on with that is I've noticed the Senators have drafted a lot of players from it looks like the under 18 US program, and I'm wondering if maybe he's just well known, like the scouts have known him for a while, maybe they've been scouting him for a while, or maybe some of the guys they've already picked up are close to him and are kind of like, yeah, like this guy's good, and maybe there's some encouragement there.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, who were you expecting them to pick initially? Like, obviously for you, it seems like it was a more surprising pick. So who were you kind of, I guess, hoping they take?
Well, here's the thing that kind of ticked me off is, so I watched the draft, pick by pick by pick goes by, and I was like, all right, we're at the 9th pick. Dylan Guenther's still on the board. Oh my God, we're going to get Dylan Guenther. Arizona takes him. I was like, if I was to pick a number 1, you're either looking Guenther or you're looking at Wallstead, in which, in fact, I didn't take Wallstead. Am I really going to knock that on him? No. It's like, you really want to take a goalie that high? That's like the first goalie didn't go till the 15th pick when it was originally projected to be top 10. It wasn't even Wallstead. Wallstead went 22nd or 20th rather.
20th.
And if anything, I think the Oilers are pretty decent too on young goalies. Like if any, it seems like it's more like, okay, let's get some players to fill the roles and see what sticks.
A lot of people were upset at the Oilers because they traded down. They traded their 20th for the 22nd, which I had no problem with because like this year it's could be hit or miss on draft guys because some of these guys haven't really played much hockey, so you don't really know what you're getting. And a lot of people are pretty pissed that they didn't take Middlestad or whatever his name is.
Wallstead,
that's it. Sorry. And they're pretty upset about it. But at the same time, we got Konolov and we've got Stuart Skinner down in the minors. Stuart Skinner put up absolute career numbers in the AHL, which I mean isn't saying much because it's the AHL. And, you know, he might not be able to make the jump. But they got those two and they got Olivier Rodrigue, which I think that's a pretty solid 3 prospect goalies right now. I don't think you needed to add another goalie to the mix. I think they did the right thing. They went with Xavier Borgault, who's centerman, shoots right, which the Oilers don't have too many strong right prospect shots. So I agree. I like that pick. Last year he played 29 games with in the queue, 20 goals, 20 assists for 40 points, which is pretty solid, almost scoring at a goal per game rate, which is pretty solid for a sniper. I didn't know much going into the draft about the kid. Didn't know much about the draft at all because I didn't really pay attention to it too much. But I watched a highlight video, and this kid can fucking shoot the puck. Like, he's got a wicked release, and he just fucking zips it. He snipes. I don't know. I could see him maybe throwing him on the wing when he's ready to go because that happens to centermen all the time. They get moved to the wing, and who knows, fucking 4 years down the road or 2-3 years down the road, he could be a sick winger for Draisaitl or McDavid.
It honestly seems like that's the whole point of why they picked him is like they're like, okay, this is a scoring forward, and they're probably going to transition to him, like to a right wing or something like that if that's a need that you guys have to be filled. Because if anything, I think you guys need a bit of winger depth anyway. Because you got McDavid, Nuge, and Draisaitl now as your top 3,
and Hyman's a centerman, right?
I think they put him on the draw for penalty kills, but not typically all the time. But I know, like Toronto, what they like to do too is strong side, weak side. So whoever's on the strong side will usually take the draw. But I've mostly noticed Hyman on the penalty kill taking draws. But otherwise, I'd say he's primarily a left winger. So maybe that's what they're thinking is like, okay, you got Hyman on the left wing. I don't know who you'd have on the right wing with McDavid, maybe Yamamoto.
JP.
Yeah, or Puljujärvi.
Puljujärvi. He's not going anywhere. He looked way too good last year for him not to be on McDavid's line again. He didn't put up huge numbers, but he's still like just the way he played out there. He fucking was throwing the body around. He's quick. He can keep up with McDavid. He showed a lot of like glimpses of high IQ, and that's exactly what you need to play with McDavid. McDavid is a special kind of player, and people are like, "Oh, why couldn't this guy play with McDavid?" Well, because you can't just be anybody playing on McDavid's wing. You have to have a high IQ. You have to think the game as fast as he does. If you don't, you won't be able to keep up. Like, you don't need wheels to necessarily play with him, but you need to know where to go. If you don't know where you're going when McDavid's on the ice, he's not going to find you. If you know exactly where to go, he's going to get you that fucking puck, and you're going to have a grade A opportunity. So you never know what they do, but if all things point to Hyman signing in Toronto or Edmonton, I like it. I'm not going to deny it. I like it.
It will be like, that's the thing is I think it will work in that case, and especially because Hyman's going to be the one going in, digging for the pucks, trying to get them loose, and he's going to be feeding it over to McDavid. And then if Puljujärvi's reading the play, as you said, doing a high IQ there, and he knows where to be, then that's when McDavid dishes in the puck. So it's kind of like a nice tic-tac-toe you can set up with those guys now.
And then it allows you to go back to, Draisaitl, Yami, and Nuge. 2 years ago, they were one of the best second lines in hockey. So if they can find their stride again, that's a solid top 6 you're looking at. They just need to, fill in a goalie and some defense. But anyways, back to the draft. We're drifting again.
Well, no, to think about it, it's like with the Borgo pick, you trade back 2 picks. You got a third out of it. It's like,
yeah,
I'll take that any day of the week.
I'm pretty sure they had before that they had a first, a fourth, 2 6s, and a seventh. Like that was a smart move. You trade back 2 spots. It's not a big deal. You lose out on possibly a franchise goalie, but you got 3 other guys that might step in and be a franchise goalie, and you get a sniper and you get that 3rd round pick, which I have no complaints about what they did in the draft.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think it was a bad move at all. I've seen Dubas do it countless times, and we've gotten some pretty good boys out of those picks, so I can't complain really. Like it's kind of worked out for us a lot of the time.
Now, like I would have, like I said, I'm not mad about who they took, but I also wouldn't have mind them packaging that with like a Koskinen or a Neal or something, and maybe a prospect to go after a solid top 4 defenseman or a top 6 guy, or maybe even a starting goalie. Like I know they're in talks with Arizona right now with Kemper, and maybe they could have enticed them with that first and got one of Neal or Koskinen off the books. Like Arizona's just eating mad contracts right now, man. It's like watching Arizona on Twitter now. It's like watching Monty Python when Buddy's walking down the street, bring out your dead kind of thing. Like Arizona's just like dinging the bell, like, y'all, you need contracts gone? We fucking want them. Bring them on down. We'll take whatever the fuck you can offer. You want a second? And this guy will take them. Why the fuck not? You want something back? No, that's fine. We don't need to give you anything back, right? Like, why maybe they could have done that, but maybe Holland like Xavier better than fucking that idea. You never know. We might be able to still move Koskinen for Kemper.
Even when you think of it, so they're taking on all this cap. What are we thinking? Because it's like, I'm thinking in this case, they're taking on all this cap for guys that are probably like bottom 6 forwards or like top 6 D-man. It's like not guys that are going to do you a world of things for you, but maybe they're setting up to, like, I wouldn't say they're going to tank, but you might think they might be eyeing up Shane Wright in their next draft.
Yeah, because that's where a Canadian kid wants to go, is to the fucking desert.
The thing is, I agree with Trevor. I think they're fucking like going out of their way there, because the thing is they've already had all this bullshit kind of happen with their like player training thing that they did early, so they got penalized those picks. Their team sucks. They definitely need to rebuild. So I'm thinking they're just taking on all this dead cap. They know it's going to get expired next year.
But they're getting mad picks in return.
Yeah, they're getting a shit ton of draft picks in return. They're probably going to try to tank for that first overall. Those contracts they expire next year. Then they have a bunch of cap space too to throw at.
And a fuckload of picks.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, you can go try to pick up a couple of free agents. You can re-sign guys you like on your team. Like, there's a lot of moves they can make. Like, I think they've been pretty smart this offseason. If anything, it's almost blatantly obvious. Like, okay, their plan is like they're gonna just suck ass like this year and next year they're going full like rebuild and just going in with a whole new squad. It'll be interesting.
At this point, why not, right? They don't really got much going for them. I mean, I feel like a lot of players wanted out. Like, I feel like Oliver Ekman-Larsson wanted out. I feel like Kessel wants out. Kemper probably wants out. Aiden Hill wanted out. Like, all these guys want out, so you might as well just fucking eat some cap space, get a bunch of picks in the meantime, and then build the fucking farm up in the next 2-3 years, and then hopefully, when Matthews' contract is up, he comes home and you're ready to go.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. If they wanted Matthews to come back, they're gonna fucking have to fix something, because the team's a shithole. Like, it's one of the worst destinations to play hockey right now. I mean,
yeah, but they're gonna have a whole lot of a hell more money than the fucking Leafs to throw at them. They'll just send a blank check to Toronto. All right, Matthews, you write down a number and how many years you want, and we'll make it happen.
that's assuming, I guess, Matthews wants to leave at that point in time. I guess we'll see when the time comes. I mean, that's 4 years away. I'm going to enjoy my 4 years with Matthews until then. We'll see what Arizona does, if they even exist. But I think this is, though, pretty much the whole point. I think they're essentially trying to save their franchise of like, okay, our team sucks. We have no attendance. Like, nobody likes us. Like, if anything, like, come on. Like, Arizona's one of the most boring teams in the entire league. Like, I never
less big name guys to move to Quebec City when they move, or Houston.
That's the thing. I think it'd be nice if they moved to Quebec City. Obviously, that'd be sweet to have like actually 8 Canadian teams, and you got 4 on each like conference and shit. Like, just balance it out. Get a nice balance.
But Bettman's gonna move it to Houston. That's
Probably, yeah. Wherever makes the most money in their minds, that's where he's going to go. But the thing is, I think this is probably Arizona's last chance to save their franchise and keep it in Arizona. I think if this rebuild fails, they're probably fucked. And I would assume Bettman at that point, or whoever, maybe there's a new commissioner by then, that ends up going like, okay, we're moving these guys. You're just a money pit.
Bettman's the Vladimir Putin. He's not going nowhere.
It's like you can't bail this team out. Like they constantly lose money, right? Like it's like eventually you got to go. Okay, let's go somewhere that will actually earn us revenue.
Like, it's not fair to the NHL to have to keep fucking paying their salary cap.
No, exactly. It's like, come on, like just get in a team like in an area that people actually want to watch fucking hockey. Like,
bro, you bring in like a Montreal or Quebec fucking rivalry. That's going to sell out every fucking time. Or if you bring in a Houston-Dallas rivalry, I bet that draws a huge crowd too. Dallas, fucking Texas, they love their sports. Yeah, it's a big football state, but Dallas still gets a good amount of fans. So you might as well try and build a better rivalry than fucking Arizona-Vegas, because that's, you know, Vegas sells out pretty much every game, but Arizona, you know, they got the fucking the high school kids coming to watch because they got nothing else to do. You got the old people from Canada coming to watch the game because it's 55 cents, brings them back to the
Leafs are in town, so it's like, oh, we'll go watch them.
Yeah, exactly. But like Arizona's not doing nothing down there, and it's just honestly, it's just a waste of an NHL team at this point. So they might as well just move it, or you know, give them this one last shot. They can't do anything in the next 3 or 4 years. Get them out of there. Do something else.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it seems like. It seems like they're kind of like, all right, one more go. Well, this time it's gonna work. Which I mean, we'll see if Arizona tanks and they get the first, or if they get the first overall in the lottery, then we know it's a conspiracy and Bettman purposely rigged it just so they could have first overall and draft Shane Wright.
He doesn't have to move the team.
Yeah, so he doesn't move his team. He's just gonna save their franchise by giving them a first overall pick.
Yeah.
Well, if we move into the second round, we've got a couple picks of notes for the Sens and Leafs with their first pick.
Oh wait, did you guys want to talk about the whole Habs pick and that?
Yeah, we should mention him.
Yeah,
before we go.
Yeah, what's this player's name? Because he issued like a whole
Milloy or something like that.
Or Malu or something. Mayu. Okay, so he issued a statement. The thing is, I never even heard about this dude, but I just remember seeing the statement about, don't draft me. I'm not mature enough. Let me play a year for the London Knights in the OHL, and like next year select me. Basically, trying to. I guess that's from a certain stance. He's doing something mature by being like, okay, I did something pretty bad. Don't bother drafting me. It's not really, a right time to do it. Like I should probably learn and grow and at least have some kind of punishment, I guess.
But here's the thing, though, is he was full on committed to the draft, and then this all became public, and then that's when he renounced. He had already known that he had done it. He'd already, I don't know if he felt any remorse towards it. He should have never announced that he was going into the draft in the first place. He should have just fucking.
Oh no, the consequences of my own actions.
Yeah, like he was totally okay with just hiding it. He was like, oh, you know what? No one's found out. I'll just continue my career and hopefully no one finds out. But then it became public, and a few days later, he's just like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't do the draft. And at that point, he's just trying to save face. Now, do I hate?
Well, I mean, I guess keep in mind, it's a teenage mentality we're talking about here too. So obviously, it's like you've lied to your parents or tried to hide something. I mean,
yeah, obviously.
The thing is, that's a pretty big deal, and I mean, like the whole sending nudes and sharing thing. I bet countless people have done that. Like,
yeah, but what he did, man, he was with this girl and he took a bunch of Snapchats of her while they were doing it, and she didn't know, and he just started spreading it to everybody. Yeah, she didn't send.
That's the big issue.
Send him pictures, man. He took them himself while he was with her, and he didn't It's not like she sent him a bunch of pics. He fucking just took them himself, and then he spread it throughout his team and all this stuff, and he made a big joke about it. And at no point has he ever actually, apologized to this poor girl. He's never once said he was sorry to her. He apologized to the world.
I thought he sent like a text or something pathetic like that.
That's fucking garbage. A text, at least you could do. You're gonna be a multi-million-dollar NHL player. The least you could do is fly to her and give her a heartfelt apology without someone telling you to do it. Like, he felt no remorse. He thought what he did was fine until he got caught, and now he's trying to backpedal. Now,
the one thing I'm wondering is, what was it who was that guy Arizona picked last year? in the 4th round that they ended up having to forfeit him or whatever because of his like.
Well, it's like they renounced him, but it's like you have to think with that pick. It's like that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was their first pick. Like even though it was 4th round, and it's like you heard all the history around him. I think I can remember his last name. I'm fairly certain his last name was Miller, but I can't remember the first
Oh,
name.
that sounds
I
familiar.
can't remember.
But yeah, it's because he was like being racist and bullying like some autistic.
Oh yeah, I remember that guy.
Black
now.
kid, like some band, which is like pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the
Miller.
same time, why does the NHL not see these two events as equivalents? Like just because it's like a girl and it was like a nude getting, or it's like sex stuff getting sent around. Like, I mean, I feel like they're pretty equivalent in extreme measures of like, okay, this guy was a huge piece of shit, being racist, bullying this kid, and then this guy was, you know,
Just the biggest
kind of
piece of
non-consensually sending sexual messages, pictures of this person without their consent, like
Now,
Well, that's
discriminating
the thing.
against this woman. So it's just like, why are the two not both looked at as like fucking horrible? And why is this player not being renounced? Like the Habs are just like, yes, we will work with him to make him better and learn
such
from
a
this
dirtbag
situation.
move by the Habs. Fuck the Habs.
Like it's like, oh, we drafted him with our 1st round this year, so we're not renouncing him. Like fuck
See,
that.
No, I totally think every NHL team should have respected his wishes to not be drafted. I think that was the smart thing to do on his part. I know that was just to save face because, like I said, he had no problem going into the draft before it became public. Now, do I think the kid should be, completely boycotted from the NHL? No, I don't think so. I think if he apologizes and he
Does his year with
matures
the OHL,
yeah, and he matures as an adult and he actually sends a heartfelt apology to this poor girl, then yeah, sure, give him a chance in a couple years. But for them to waste the 1st round pick on him, I think is just a shitty move by Montreal, and I think they should be ashamed of what they did. I honestly
even make
do.
him do some type of community service with like domestic abuse victims or like people who have been affected maybe by similar instances. Like make him go work for like a nonprofit and spend some time to be around people who have had things like that happen to them, and maybe he can get some kind of fucking empathy for someone who's been put in that situation.
But to draft him in the 1st round is just like a slap in the face to women everywhere. And
Well,
yeah,
that's the
it's
thing.
disgusting.
thing is,
Honestly, it's just like, why does this not have the same kind of scrutiny as that whole other event? I guess like it seems like people care, but it's kind of like the Habs are just like, yeah, we picked him, get over it. Well,
Yeah, exactly.
We don't give a shit. And they just moved on, and it's like now everyone else is just supposed to move on. Like, what the fuck?
No, it's not right. I don't think they did the right decision there by taking him, and I hope the hockey gods come back on them. I really do.
Well, I mean, I hope they do too. Fuck the Habs. I don't have any fucking
You're for
good opinion of them to begin.
You got
with,
other
so-
reasons that you say fuck the Habs.
Yeah, exactly. I have other hockey reasons to say fuck the Habs, but this is just adds to it where it's just kind of like, really, man? Because I mean, the thing too is Bergevin's been already involved with that whole Blackhawks scandal that was going on as well, right?
Which is another fucking shitty thing the NHL is doing. They've covered that scandal up for 11 years now, and they're still not even making light of it. It's another thing.
No.
Like
It's over a decade long, and it's been like hidden, swept under the rug.
what the fuck? Like, and people knew about it. Players knew, coaches knew, fucking everybody in the Blackhawks organization knew about it. Apparently, the guys that it got happened to were getting teased by the players for it and shit like that. It's just disgusting.
It's
and
just like, why are people
shameful
okay
that
with rape happening in the NHL? I mean,
Exactly.
rape just in general. But
It's
just
fucked.
why are you fucking like, yes, in my own league, on my own team, I'm fine with having people get raped on my team. Fuck you. And you're a loser piece of shit for getting raped too.
Yeah,
Like,
it's fucking
okay.
disgusting is all it is, man. And I think the NHL should be fucking ashamed of themselves for what they're doing lately.
No, that's the thing. It's like, oh shit, I think we got Trevor frozen here.
No, I just don't think he's
No.
moving.
No, I'm here. Hello.
Oh, at least on my screen, you're frozen, Trevor. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Man, you gotta stop using that potato.
I'll
I guess so.
improve
I think
next
it's more
week.
than this. I think it's more of our chat engine here, but hopefully, maybe Trevor will just get restored in the meantime. I guess.
Oh, that's gonna be great. Our video is gonna be him just fucking frozen. Sick.
It's a good picture too. It's like mid blink, so he's like,
Well, that's
Poor
the thing with
fucking
unflattering
Trevor.
pictures. Is like you just get on a frozen frame, and it's just the worst.
It's never a flattering picture.
Yeah, it always does it at the worst
Never a
time. It's just
flattering
like,
picture.
why does this
Yeah, because I
happen
can
to
see
me?
myself fine, but no, it's. So.
Well, kind of a weird, I guess, segue from that other topic, the whole bullshit Blackhawks controversy. But I guess we can always swing back to it later as more stuff comes out about it. But just for the most part, it's unfortunate for the league, and like I know people who, maybe aren't as diehard fans of hockey. They still watch it and they enjoy it, but I know some of them are kind of like they're seeing all the weird shit that's coming out, and they're like, "What the fuck?" Like, why do people support this league? And like they're kind of becoming disgruntled. So it's like if the casual fan are starting to see these things and actually feeling a negative attitude towards the NHL, that's not good PR. And if, in my opinion, I think the NHL needs to start fucking trying to straighten this and correcting this behavior now. Like, why is this happening in 2021? Like, seriously, you guys have been around for over 100 years. Like, at this point, you'd think the league would have figured this shit out. So hopefully they start doing something. It's nice that we're actually having some kind of change, though, I guess, in 2021. Or at least some awareness about it, I guess, to correct that. Well, boys, I guess should we talk about any of the Leafs picks? We only got a few here to go through. There's not really all that to say about what the hell the Leafs is.
No, but I just wanted to say one more thing. Like, when I think we should probably touch on this before we continue on because of what we've been talking about. But Luke Prokop, how he recently came out, right?
Oh, yes.
And like the amount of pouring support that he got was phenomenal. But at the same time, for the NHL, it's, to still be pushing that other stuff into the background is not okay with me. Like,
it's a big signal, that's for sure.
I loved how much support he got from his players, from his peers, from the league, from everybody. Like, it was fantastic. He felt great about himself. He's been a young kid struggling with his own identity, and he finally decided to come out, and they were just so accepted of it. But then you look at the other things that have been pushed to the background. It's like, how you got to be okay with everything. Like, you got to support the people that are struggling with these things. You got to support the Blackhawks players that were, subjected to that fucking disgusting habit that the fucking, what was it, the video coach or whatever his name, whoever it was.
The video coach, yeah.
But like, you got to do everything. Like, you can't just pick and choose what you do. You got to support everybody in the struggles that they've gone through.
Exactly. It's like, okay,
there's no room to push this shit to the background. Like, you need to support everybody.
And that's a weird contrast with the whole situation.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like, it's kind of a mixed bag. It's like you hear some of these good stories coming out, and then you just got these utterly horrible stuff that are going on. And it's like, they need to be addressed.
Yeah, it's like, it's nice that you're like, okay, like you're normalizing being gay in the NHL. Like, I mean, fuck, about time.
It shouldn't even be a thing.
No, exactly. I mean, I was like, cool, and I moved on. I didn't think it was a big deal, but it ended up being like, I mean, I guess that when I look at it in a less narrow-minded view than my own, it's like, okay, this is pretty cool. This is a big event. Like, I guess it hasn't really happened in the NHL. Like, I didn't think of it as that big of a deal at the beginning, but now, like, after seeing the reaction, it's like, holy fuck, okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, 2021, it shouldn't have been a headline, not because, it's not hockey related, but because that shouldn't even be an issue anymore. If people want to be gay, or if people are born gay because it's not a choice, then let them. Guys shouldn't have to feel under pressure to come out, girls and everybody. If they want to do something with their life, fucking let them. Who cares? It doesn't affect your life. And, if people have negative responses to this shit, then eat fucking shit. I hope you choke on it too.
I don't know why people concern themselves with that stuff anyway, because it's like, really, do you have nothing better to occupy your time with other than being concerned with other people's sexualities? Like, really, who gives a fuck? Like,
exactly.
It's not like they're hurting you.
What he wants to do. Yeah, he's not hurting you. I'm glad. I'm happy for him. I'm glad he came out. I'm really happy for him. And I hope he goes on to have a successful career. I really do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's nice that the NHL supported him, but also get your shit together, NHL. Yeah. Like, you got another bunch of fucking...
then a week later you make it okay for this fucking kid Logan to get drafted. Like, you can't do that shit. It's unacceptable.
Exactly. Well, I guess there's not really an easy segue for that, but I guess let's continue going through the draft, trying to get that stuff done with. So the Leafs drafted Matthew, is it Nice?
Knees.
Matthew Knees, 57th overall. Looks like 6'2", all right, decent. I believe is he a left wing?
He's a left wing, yeah.
I don't really know shit about him.
Picks?
I don't know shit about him. I haven't, the thing is, I didn't pay attention to the draft much like you, Tyler. I knew the Leafs only had 3 picks going into it, and
sick.
They took their picks and they stuck with it. But mind you, this dude had a really good year in the USHL last year because he had 42 points in 44 games for the Tri-City Storm. So he put up quite a bit of points for the USHL.
They fucking love their Americans now, eh? They're just trying to make Matthews feel at home by taking all these American kids now.
I guess so. Well, I've been finding that the whole USHL, kind of this league, even with the Sens picking up a lot of those guys, it seems like it's a good development program, or at least a lot of these NHL teams are starting to kind of notice that they're developing some good players, and they're kind of turning their attention more to them. And I mean, the thing too is that guy also played, what was it, 44 games, you said, Trevor?
44, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like the OHL played fucking 0 games. So unless you run the World Juniors or some type of special tournament,
yeah.
It's like,
exactly.
What do you have to go off of? So, I mean, I'm kind of happy they picked that player because it's at least he has some kind of stats behind him. He's had some experience this year. And we got to see him actually play.
And honestly, this year's hit and miss. You're taking a chance on every single draft pick because you don't have that proper prospect sample size. Normally coming into a draft, most kids have 2 or 3 years of junior under their belt. Most of these kids, I see, I used to coach a kid. His name is Chandler Romeo. He was drafted by the Sens late, and he was drafted from Brantford 99ers, which is a junior A team, not even OHL. He had, I think, a couple of OHL games under his belt. Not saying he's not going to turn out to an NHL player. I'm just using him as an example for how a lot of the OHL kids didn't have the proper prospect-looking numbers in order to get drafted in their proper position. If he would have played 2 years in the OHL, he might have gone in the 3rd round, for all we know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the one thing I'll say that was interesting with the draft that comes with that is just some of those players are taking a big shot in the dark. It's risky. They could be nothing, but they could end up being a huge fucking stud because maybe the next year they play, they end up hitting caliber that would have made them get selected in the top 10. And you're like, oh shit, I got this guy in the 5th round. And over the lockdown, he grew 4 inches and gained 25 pounds of muscle, and he's a fucking giant now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he had a fair bit of points last year. It's for a defenseman, he had 21 points in 44 games for that brand for teams. It's he was a 7th round pick, but it's hey, if he turns out, he turns out. It's you were talking about guys that put on a lot of pounds. One of Ottawa's 2nd round picks, Ben Roger. I was he didn't play it at all last year because of the OHL, but he had 35 pounds. He's now 200 pounds at 6'4". He's probably going to be thrown around the body quite a bit over the next couple of years.
Jesus, 35 pounds. That guy's been fucking going ham. See, that's the thing. I guess if you didn't have a regular league to play in, it's these players are I still want to be in the NHL. I still want to go and play hockey. So you train other ways. And obviously these guys have been putting in work to build themselves up into something that could be NHL ready, or at least they can attempt to try out for a spot now that hockey's coming back.
I'd also, another thing that Romeo had done, I'm pretty sure a lot of the young OHL kids trying to get drafted, they went down to the US and they played on a bunch of tournament teams.
Okay.
So I don't know how many of those guys actually did it, but I saw I seen 2 guys that I know of, Nolan, Dan, and Romeo. They both went down and they played in the States for tournaments just so they could get some skating going. I don't know if scouts were actually there, but you never know. Scouts might have shown up to those tournaments just to see what these kids had, to see if they're worth taking a pick. So
I wouldn't be surprised if it was one of the only scouting opportunities. I guarantee there had to be at least some NHL scouts that went and took it.
Oh yeah, because it's not NHL prospects just show up at a tournament. It's not like the NHL scouts aren't going to know where they're at.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they all know. So I'm pretty sure, some of these guys got scouted out of there. So at least they had some sort of sample size to go off of when they were drafting these players.
Wait, so and this guy was drafted by Ottawa, correct?
Yeah.
Ottawa in the 7th round, yeah. And that was the
Yeah.
thing with a lot of guys. It's like you had some go down to the US, you had some go out to Europe. It's like they were basically going far and wide just to get some games in. It was like you had some of these guys that didn't play at all because the OHL didn't have a season, but you got to play.
Exactly. I mean, the one thing I wanted to mention too, actually, is because I've mentioned this, I guess, a couple times on the show with the Senators getting a lot of these U.S. players out of this program. It would make sense if they already had a scouting those guys, and then we had guys literally traveling to the United States to enter these like little tournaments. You would think that, okay, he's probably in the area and they would have checked it out. So it's actually kind of not surprising. Like that American scout that the Senators have down there probably did end up scouting him in one of these tournaments and ended up like, okay, I'm going to pluck this guy 7th round. Like he looks pretty good playing with these other American guys I've already been looking at for however many months.
And it might be an absolute fucking steal in the 7th round.
Exactly. I think obviously that's what the Sens are hoping in this case.
He's a big boy. He's big. He's got size to him, and he's only 18. So by the time he hits 22, he'll probably have a bunch of muscle added on. So, he could be a stud of a steal for them, for all we know.
That's the thing. He's got time to develop and grow, and it's like now at least you have more control and say over how he develops in that process, and you can provide him resources that way too. Right now that he's been drafted by a team, and so if anything, it's another support outlet for him.
And you never know. You don't make that draft pick. He goes back to the O next year, absolutely fucking plays phenomenal, and then he either gets drafted higher or he signs as a free agent. Because I don't know how old can you be to be in the draft still?
You can't be over 20, I believe.
20 is the oldest. So you never know.
20 is the oldest. So
you took a shot at 7th, and it might be, you might have saved yourself a 3rd round pick by grabbing this kid there.
Exactly, right. That's I feel like the plan with that, right? Because if he does develop in the next year, he actually proves himself, especially after putting all this effort into growing. Then it's like, yeah, he ends up going 3rd round. You missed him. Somebody else gets him, and then they just have this fucking giant.
Yeah,
that he passed in the 7th round.
And he was the only pick that they didn't really have in the late rounds. So the only other picks that we haven't otherwise mentioned is their 2nd round pick. They took Zach Ostapenchuk. And then 3rd round, they ended up taking Oliver Johansson. And then they traded the 5th that they got out because they traded back to get Roger. So they took that 5th that they got off of LA and then their 6th to take Carson Latimer in the 4th. So it's like 5th round, 6th round, they didn't have no picks. So and those usually the ones where you won't have as many guys pan out to have a really good career.
This is Ottawa you're talking about, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was like, we're still talking about Ottawa? Yes. Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, and the Leafs got Ty Voigt and Vyacheslav Peska, I think. If that's
pronounced. Yeah, just Pexa.
Who's a goalie, and the other guy again looks like a winger of some kind. Played for Sarnia, not bad. So that he probably didn't really get much ice time this year. So maybe similar situation. The kid went and played in a tournament somewhere, and they managed to scout him.
Yeah.
And then the Russian goalie. I mean, they were playing hockey over there. There was like
they played. Yeah, he put up a .257 with a .909 save percentage with Iris Kazan of the MHL, so essentially the equivalent of the CHL out in Russia.
Okay. And it sounds like he did okay, so maybe if we're lucky, he'll develop into a backup goalie.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, well, I can't complain. I mean, the guys that Dubas did manage to pick up, at least for the Leafs, I guess they look promising. We'll see what shakes out with them, but at this point, we're not really in rebuild mode. The Leafs are supposed to win. They're supposed to. They obviously aren't winning.
Supposed to.
They're supposed to fucking be. They're supposed to be winning. This is supposed to be like a window for them.
I'm not sure what the fuck the Oilers are. I don't know if the Oilers are supposed to be winning now. If we're still in the middle of a rebuild, I'm not entirely sure. I'm
that's the
still
problem with
lost
the
with
Oilers.
what's
It's like, what
happening.
is going on? I think like Holland wants them to be cup ready because you have McDavid. It's like you want to make a cup run if you have McDavid on your team, but there's still like a few rebuilding pieces around him that haven't like fully developed.
Like they're at the point now where they have the two players that can carry them to the playoffs, but then they just don't have the players to play in the playoffs. Like playoffs are a whole different ball game compared to the regular season. Like McDavid and Draisaitl can carry them in the regular season, but they need fucking help come playoff time. And
Yeah.
it started off okay with adding Keith. Like I wasn't too upset about that, but then they lost Larson, which kind of fucking sucked, and then they haven't really done a whole lot else. I'm hearing now that Barry's going to test free agency, which I'm not too beat up about.
I think you dodged a bullet with that one.
I think I'm okay with not signing Barry on, a 4-year, $5 million plus deal.
Yeah, that's
I
the
think
thing.
I'm
The
okay
rumors
with
I heard
that.
it was going to be a pretty expensive deal, and I was like, oh God, please. Like, I think it was just me and Trevor were talking about this on our last stream. I was just like, that will be like one of the worst mistakes because then it's like you had all this cap space going in, and you blow it on Keith, Smith, Barry, and Hyman. Hyman I like. He's a great player. Obviously, a bit of Leaf bias, but it's like you blow it on like 4 guys that are like getting pretty old. Mike Smith is ancient, for God's sakes. You gave him 2 years. That's the one thing I'm still confused about. Why the fuck did you give him 2 years? Like, he's probably going to retire next year.
Because I honestly think that Mike Smith signing was respect. Yeah, you give him a 1 year, which is okay. But at the same time, the way he fucking played last year, you give him 2 years just as a sign of respect to him.
I guess their hope is maybe he can be maybe a 1A, 1B option this year, and then next year, okay, now you can go into a backup role and maybe Skinner takes over unless they get somebody else. Kemper,
like if they can take Kemper, if they can get Kemper or Merzlinkis, I don't think Allmark is going anywhere because I've been hearing that them and Buffalo are currently working on an extension, but you never know. It might be a sign and trade kind of thing, but if they can add a number 1 goalie, move Koskinen out, keep him, whoever they bring in Smith as a 1A, 1B. You don't work Smith as hard as you did last year, but then, you've got that solid backup goalie to throw in. It gives Skinner another couple years in the minors, or Konolov, or whichever one you're going to go with. You give them a couple more years in the minors to continue to develop. And then Smith's 2 years is up, and hopefully Skinner or Konolov is ready to come up and fill that backup role. And then whoever you bring in, if they're on their way out, then look, you got Skinner and Konolov as your 1-2. And I think in 4 years, that could be a fucking wicked 1-2 combination for goaltending. Konolov's put up huge numbers in the KHL the last 3 years, and Skinner put up huge numbers in the AHL last year. So I got no problem with them giving Mike Smith 2 years. I think he earned it for what he did last year for them. And, the cap hit might be a little much, but at the end of the day, it's only $2.2 million. I mean, what are you going to do with an extra $1 million, really? So
I think what they're mainly going to want to do, like their main goal, I think, is moving Koskinen along with somehow getting another goalie back. Like, I think their best bet is to do it via trade where Koskinen's going the other way.
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess it's like, what do you get? Do you do an Arizona thing here? We'll give you our next year's first round pick. Take Koskinen in our hands. We'll take Kemper.
Yeah, exactly. And like Arizona, why wouldn't they take a goalie that can be a backup? They're taking fucking guys that aren't even a top 12 forward for fucking what is Ladd making? Well, Ladd might not even play next year, the word is.
Might not play,
really?
but I think he makes 4.3, I believe.
So take Koskinen at 4.4. And then you at least got a starting goalie. Right? Because you lost Hill. You're probably going to lose Kemper because I think Kemper really wants out.
So they have Ranta.
Oh, yeah, Ranta might get traded too. So if you take Koskinen, at least you got a goalie that can play in the NHL.
And you're trying to tank very obviously, so it's like, fuck it, just ride him, let him suck all year, and then his contract expires. You don't even have to fucking keep him. You can just run him into the ground all the way to last place, and
you get a first or second and maybe a prospect out of it too.
Yeah,
make it happen, exactly. Arizona. Make
some kind of free shit just so you can fucking take him off. the Oilers' hands.
Correcting myself. Lad makes 5.5, so it's a bit more of a cap
God.
hit.
Yeah, like what happens if he does play next year and you got to soak that 5.5? Might as well have a $4.4 million goalie that can somewhat play in the NHL. Like, people shit on Koskinen, but I mean, he didn't have. I don't think he had the worst of numbers. Like, he had decent numbers.
It's just the 4.5. Like, he's getting paid $4.5 million to put up like I don't know, middling backup numbers. And it's like you expected him to be a starter at least when he was signed, which I think he was pretty hot when he was signed. But the Oilers just, at least if anything, I think it was the ownership, because they fired Chia pretty much right after that. They're like, here, sign this guy for 3 years at 4.5 and then fuck off.
So like his career average in the NHL right now is his goals against average is .297 and his save percentage is .907. Last year he had below career average numbers. He had 3.17 goals against average and a 0.88 or 899 save percentage. But
it's fucking horrible.
You got to also remember, he played, I think, the first 10 to 15 games, right? He didn't have any backup. Skinner was the backup, wasn't ready to take any of those games on yet. So he played a bunch of games.
You're defending this guy pretty hard, even though you want to fucking ship him out of town.
I'm not saying I'm just saying, like, I don't want him on the team anymore because I think he needs to change the scenery. But after Smith came back, he had like a 9.27 save percentage for the rest of the year. It's just the first few games that he played hurt his numbers. But after that, once Smith came back, he had like a low 2 goals against average and a 9.27 save percentage for like the last 12 games that he played.
No fucking way. That's like Carey Price good.
Bro, because he didn't have to play that much anymore. No, I mean, the 9.27 is in like 10 games played. So it's nothing spectacular, but it's still better than an 8.99.
Yeah. I guess that's what Holland's argument's going to have to be when he tries to sell him to Arizona. Like, look at this 10-game sample. Ignore the rest of it. 10-game sample.
All I was just going to say is it's not Louis Eriksson. You took Louis Eriksson. Why won't you take Koskinen?
That was the most hilarious thing. I guess they got all the Rekman Larson off the books, which was their plan, but my God. The money you had to take back in exchange.
Let's take on those draft day trades. So you've got that OEL deal where they get OEL, they get Garland, in which they've now signed him to a 5-year deal, just under $5 million. And then Arizona's taken on Roussel, Beagle, Eriksson. They got the 9th, and then they got a 2nd in 2022 and a 7th. So it's like they're just trying to ship off their some good pieces at this time. It's like get some draft picks in return.
Yeah, exactly. They're just selling their team pretty much at this point, just taking on the cap.
Vancouver got rid of all that cap space, and they just took it right back. They didn't free up any cap space.
Yeah, they're still, actually, if anything, we should see.
Because I think OEL's got a pretty high cap hit. Is he not at like 7 plus?
He's at like almost 8.2, I believe.
Yeah, and like he's nowhere near that player anymore. In my mind, that's worse than taking on Duncan Keith at 5.5.
Right. Vancouver's got 20 mil in projected cap space, apparently. Who do they need to sign?
They've got some restricted free agents. They've got Pedersen. They've got Hughes. They've got some guys that they need to sign. But yeah, it's like they traded off the bad deals off the books. But then with that Garland deal and then OEL to that, I think they've kind of evened out. They're kind of paying almost the same thing.
Yeah, they didn't really do anything.
Because Arizona just retained like essentially $1 million off of OEL's cap, and that was it.
Yeah.
And they just bought out Holtby. Oh, his Holtby's buyout penalty this year's $500,000, but then next year it's almost $2 million.
Oh my!
Bought him out. Bought Vertanen out. Yeah, a couple of the guys.
Vertanen's actually not bad. His is cheap. 50,000 this year, then $500,000 next year. That's it.
Yeah, because Jones also got bought out of San Jose. Good old James Neal bought out, and then Tony DeAngelo, because surprise, surprise.
Bro,
I heard Montreal's trying to go for DeAngelo, which just to get back on ripping on them for trying to acquire shitty human beings for players. Apparently they want to get DeAngelo.
I've actually heard that Carolina is close to signing DeAngelo. I've also heard that they're interested in Vertanen too. So imagine that. You trade your future goaltender for the rights of a has-been, and then you bring in the two biggest shitbags in the league. Like, what everybody used to love the Hurricanes. Now it's like
they're actually being jerks, damn it.
Yeah, now you are a bunch of fucking jerks. You're not just a jerk because Don Cherry said so. Now you're actually a piece of shit organization.
No, I really like watching Carolina last year, but yeah, hearing some of these guys are going after, maybe not so much.
No, I can't get behind. I don't think D'Angelo or Virtanen should ever play in the NHL again. D'Angelo's just like the biggest piece of shit in the world. Like, he's just a
a complete toxic human being. Like, why would you want that in your dressing room?
And I don't know too much about Virtanen, but I mean, you're sexually assaulting women. You probably shouldn't play in the NHL. Like,
the thing is it's come about. He's not been charged with it. He's just being sued for it, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but it's like he may have done something abhorrent, yes, but you can't convict him without a verdict.
That is true. And there is sometimes, I'm not defending. I just want to say I'm not defending Virtanen at all. I'm not. Mm-hmm. Like I said, like you said, you can't really judge until, an actual judge brings a verdict. But there's also times in a judge where they can be persuaded by certain things to, see their verdict go a different way. But at the same time, I guess he is innocent until proven guilty.
He could be persuaded. Yeah, exactly. You have money, intimidation, blackmail.
Exactly. Like, the NHL could easily push that under the rug. Like, look what they've been doing in Chicago for 11 years. All right, let's not get back on that topic.
He's getting heated on the topic at this point.
So what are the deals that we need to go over? Because we did already the Seth Jones one. We commented on it at least. I guess we can mention Columbus got Boquist back.
Yeah, because they got Boquist. There's like a lot of pick change. So they got Chicago got Jones. They got 32nd pick, which they took Nolan Allen with, and then got the 2022 sixth. Columbus gets Boquist, 12th overall pick, which they ended up taking Sillinger. A second round of this year, in which they ended up trading later on, and then a conditional first for next year, and the condition just being as long as it's not a top 2 pick, the pick is Columbus's.
Oh, okay. So it could be a number 3.
Mm-hmm. Like, if it's 3, then Columbus still gets the pick, but if it's 1 or 2, then it'll transfer over to 2023.
Yeah, if anything, I think Columbus made up pretty well with it, especially because, I mean, I like Seth Jones, but I mean, Heiskanen just got 8.5. Makar just got 9. You're giving Jones 9.5. Like,
yeah,
I don't like. I like him. I think he's a good D, but I mean, I think those guys are a lot better. So it's like, what? Just because they're younger? Like, because this guy Seth Jones is older, he gets more money? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So I think the Hawks kind of fucking paid up a pretty penny for that player, but I guess they're really set on him.
I don't know. I think it's too early to tell, obviously, who won that trade, but Columbus got a pretty good haul back for him. I mean, he didn't want to be in Columbus anyway, so you might as well get players that you can at least attempt to throw into your lineup. Like, I don't know much about Jake Bean, but I've heard he's a pretty, like...
He's a former first-round pick.
Yeah, like, I heard he's a pretty decent defenseman, so it's not like you're not getting anyone, and Borgquist is, you get two probably top 6 guys. Like, you probably play them as your 6 and 7. You lose a guy that is a number 1 but doesn't want to be there, and you get what they get a second round, and did they get the first round as well?
We got the first round this year. They got the second round, then conditional first for next year, in which it'll essentially likely be next year, being since only as long as Chicago doesn't win the draft lottery, taking pick 1 or pick 2.
Okay, so they got a pretty good haul for him then. So I think Columbus made out all right there.
Yeah, because they got Bean off of Carolina, which honestly I thought Seattle was going to take the expansion draft, but yeah, they have that deal and then take Bean off of Carolina with that second round pick that they got out of that deal, so they made up quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and keep in mind, like, too, they also did that Cam Atkinson 1-for-1 for Voracek as well, so Columbus has made a couple different shuffling around moves, but obviously they're heading for a bit of a rebuild. They're trying to get some more young guys in the pipeline. They're moving on from the core that did that, Tampa Bay sweep. They're moving on from all those guys.
And then Jones gets to play in Chicago, which I was reading the other day, like he's super excited. He's always wanted to play in Chicago, so he's really excited for that. There's also his little brother's there, which is huge for both of them. That could really help Caleb Jones turn his career around. I mean, maybe Edmonton could have kept Caleb and brought Seth in, but that's just me, I guess,
I mean, that's the thing. I wouldn't be upset about having Seth Jones on my team, but at $9.5 million, I guess that's the only caveat to that. Is
I'd probably spend $9.5 million elsewhere. That's me personally, but there's a reason I'm not an NHL GM.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see over the next 8 years, I guess, how Seth Jones performs over that contract. But I feel pretty confident that we can all say that by at least the last couple seasons. I don't know if he's going to be worth that 9.5, but
Bobrovsky.
Yeah, well, that's what I would be worried about. Or just I guess a futuristic Duncan Keith where he's just like fucking injured and shit. And you're paying him $9.5 million, and you're just strapped with that contract until the guy's like
on Duncan Keith,
37, 38. Hey, he got his cups.
Put some spect on that man's name.
He got his cups, but I don't know if he's going to bring that same kind of juice to the Oilers. Again, I'm interested to see, but I'm hoping to also see Austin Matthews tear by him on the wing, just fucking rip a snipe.
Tear by him on the wing, get blown up by Darnell Nurse.
No.
Well, at this point, we've only got a couple other trades to cover, with Ristolainen being moved to Philly now, which they've just been loading up on defensemen. They gave away Hag a first of this year and then a 2023 second. Then Puchnevich moves over.
And then
they got Atkinson in that other deal. And then St. Louis takes Buchnevich off the Rangers' hands for Blais in a second, which that's fairly significant, in which now Buchnevich is now making 5.8 over the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then otherwise, all we've got is Buffalo. They gave away Reinhart, and they got standout goalie from the World Juniors, Devin Levi, in a first. So quite a bit of moves on draft day.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad of a return for the Sabres. I think Levi probably will end up playing NHL games for him. Like, he was such a stud in that tournament. And obviously, he's got to make the show, but I think he's probably going to be there at some point in time. And, I mean, a first-rounder, that's not bad, I guess.
With Eichel on the move, you're going to bring in some more. You're probably going to bring in a bunch more picks, too. So that first round this year, then you got the third round next year for Ristolainen.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Hag as a defenseman. I don't know much about Hag, but again, you could probably slot it. Well, it's in Buffalo.
He's a decent defenseman. Like,
top 4, top 6, depending on the situation.
Yeah. I was gonna say he's probably gonna be a top 4 on Buffalo.
Yeah. So and then when you move Eichel out, you're probably gonna get 2 or 3 more picks. So you're getting quite the rebuild going for sure. You lose Rasmus Ristolainen. I don't know much about him either, but I've heard he's pretty young, so he's got some.
I've always liked Ristolainen. He's fucking huge. He's got some speed. He's got hands. I know people like chirp his game and stuff, but the dude played for Buffalo. Like, they suck.
I feel like the body too.
He's gonna fit perfectly in Philly because he's just gonna be this fucking monster on the blue line for them.
So I think Philly's made some good offseason moves. So
yeah, they've made a lot of changes, that's for sure.
And if Carter Hart can find his game again, which I think he will with having Ristolainen and Ellis in front of him now, I think he will find it. And I think Philly could probably squeak back into the playoffs next year with the team that they're building. Adding Cam Atkinson is also a huge add because he's a stud. He's always been good in Columbus. He was a staple of that offense for many years.
I think he had an off year last year too, but I mean, the whole Columbus team had an off year. So
yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't fault him for that.
You move out Voracek, which from what I've heard from Philly fans, they've wanted Voracek on for a few years now. I think he makes over $9 million a year, which is a little much for what he's producing. So
Jesus.
So you move a huge contract, you get a stud back in return. I think Philly's going to surprise a lot of people next year. I like what they've done so far.
Let me see. Let me check on this. Let me check Voracek quickly. Actually, is it
8.50?
8.25. Okay, so not 9.5. I was like, holy fuck!
But he's still making.
He still makes a lot of money for a guy that
he's getting that for 3 more years too.
It's like he was essentially like a second or third liner in those last couple of years, so it makes sense to why Philly fans were wanting him out.
So essentially, Columbus is kind of doing what Arizona's doing. They're trading away their big name guys. They're eating some salary, but they're also getting a bunch of draft picks in the return.
I mean,
So-
Voracek, it looks like last year he got 43 points in 53 games, but that came with only 9 goals. He got 34 assists, so he's basically the dish master. And then the year
Yeah,
before,
and
he
how
played
many of those were-
69 games and 56 points.
And how many of those were Tyson Berry assists, where he passed it to Giroux, and Giroux went in, dangled a bunch of guys, and fed somebody else for a goal?
Yeah, that's the thing I'm interested to see is how many are secondary. That he just passed it up to somebody. All right, you boys got it.
The thing that concerns me is his 9 goals. You're
Yeah,
getting
9
paid
goals.
8.25. You need to have way more than 9 goals.
Well, especially because it looked like he used to be a perennial 20 goal scorer. Like,
He was a stud for the longest time.
yeah, well, it's because he had. It looks like 2018 was his last really big year. 82 games, he had 85 points. 14-15, he had 81 points in 82 games, not bad. Those are his 2 biggest years. But I mean, yeah, even like the last few seasons he's played, he had 78 games played, 20 goals, 46 assists, 66 points. Not bad for 2018, 2019. But then these 2 COVID seasons, yeah, he's got a combined 21 goals in like over 100 games. So he's scoring like a goal every 5 games, pretty much. So I guess really on Columbus, I guess what you're hoping is, okay, gets a lot of assists. You put him with Line A and just get him to feed Line A, I guess. Maybe that's what the plan is.
Yeah, you never know. It might work. It could work out for both teams.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think Philly's going to be happy with Atkinson too because he's a nice, really skilled forward. He knows how to score goals.
The Cats are fucking making some good moves. I think they're going to be. What are they playing? The Metropolitan or the
Florida?
Atlantic?
They're in
Florida.
the Atlantic, so
Atlantic.
dude, the Atlantic's going to be a fucking bloodbath next year. There's so many good teams.
Good luck, Toronto.
That's the thing is like I don't want to like I think Toronto has a good chance of making the playoffs. They're a good team, but
Yeah, you got Tampa, you got Florida, you got Boston, all 3 powerhouses. They're all going to be still like they were this year. Tampa might stutter a little bit because they got to do some magic here.
they're still going to be so good.
But they're still going to be disgusting because they're still going to have that main core of Stamkos, Kucherov, Vasilevsky, Hedman. They're still going to have all those guys.
Yeah.
So you got those 3 teams you're going to have to compete with. And then who knows
And then
what
say the
Montreal's
Leafs.
going to do.
I would put the Leafs in that group of 4 of like, okay, these are probably the top 4 teams. But then you still have the Habs who just won on that fucking cup run.
They've got a good chunk of cap space to make some damage here too.
Yeah,
But I mean,
exactly.
who
They
else?
still
Carolina
haven't
either.
done yet.
Yeah, and you say Carolina exactly. So there's going to be
Ottawa.
5.
Carolina's
Oh,
not in there.
Ottawa.
Carolina's
Yeah,
the
well, that's the
Metro.
thing in Ottawa. I feel like they're a bit of a wild card next year. Like
You never.
I think they're going to do a lot better than a lot of people think, and
Toronto's
they might
gonna
actually make a push.
Toronto's going to have to play some really good hockey next year, I think, to crack the top 3. But if not, I think they'll squeak in on a wild card. But then they got to play fucking probably Tampa or Washington, Philly.
Yeah, whoever they get thrown out in the Metro,
Pittsburgh.
which the Metro division's just another fucking shit show too that I wouldn't want to be a part of. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's like this past year with the North Division, this was the Leafs' best chance, and they've completely fucked it up and pissed it away. And now it's like, all right, back to the reality, kids. Figure it out this year, Toronto. And it's just like, holy fuck, all right. Just make the playoffs and
And
go
they
from
can't
there,
really
I guess.
add anyone. So they're like, I guess we're going to do this again with the same fucking team. Here we go.
They basically are. Like, I mean, the thing is, keep in mind, they won the division last year. So obviously with the regular season, they figured something out. They know how to win games and get points, but it's the playoff hockey they got to fucking put together.
But you're
So,
also not playing Vancouver, Calgary, Montreal, Ottawa.
We got Buffalo
Good thing for Buffalo.
and Detroit, but Detroit might be okay too. That's the thing. I
Bro,
think that
Yais-
they're a decent.
The
up-and-coming
Geyser
team,
plan
too.
is in full effect right now, so watch the
Aye.
fuck out for Detroit.
I hate
Exactly.
it.
I think
I
Detroit
hate
and
it.
Ottawa are kind of in the same boat where it's kind of just like you don't know what the hell you're going to get with those teams, and you just got to be prepared
So
for them.
honestly, as of right now, I'd say that's probably going to be the strongest division next year. As much as it pains me to say that, but the Atlantic's probably going to be the toughest division.
it's shaping up to be like, yeah, the Atlantic is going to be the top division. There's just so many good teams, and like everyone's just building up. I mean, who knows? We'll see what the Leafs do because they're going to have to do some moves. They have a bit over $9 million to work with. But the thing is, I just have no fucking clue, like who they plan to sign, who they plan to acquire. Like, I guess we'll find out. I guess is it tomorrow the free agency opens up?
Free agency is tomorrow.
It's tomorrow, yeah. Because we have a countdown on Cap Friendly here. Now, let's see what the time is. Free agency, 16 hours, 8 minutes, 47 seconds. We're getting close, boys. So I guess tomorrow for our next, or whenever we do our next stream, we're gonna have some free agency news to go through.
Yep.
Well, it's going to wrap it up for this one, but keep an eye out for a second part because we've got a lot of signings to talk about.
Ciao for now.
Yeah, that's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed the show.